guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette and this is my channel Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I am a professional intuitive empath and I'm so glad to be sharing energy with you today. For those of you that are going to jump onto this live while it's happening, the title is not in full sight yet because I ran out of characters, but the full title is An Empath Has to Experience a Series of Patterns Before They Understand That There Is a Problem. Hashtag body slammed, if I can fit it all into the title itself. This came up when I was having a sparkling conversation with my friend and a subscriber and a viewer and a fellow content creator here on YouTube named Emily. And we were talking about a myriad of things, but moreover, for both of us, we were talking about how we learned, how we dissected friendships and connections and bad patterning. When you're an empath, and if you're on this channel, you certainly are, and you are figuring out that you've had some toxic relationships and pattern behaviors and whatnot, what you will do is start to compare everyone else to the past. And unfortunately, it takes us a few times, a few narcissists, a few toxic people, a few bad boyfriends and girlfriends, you name it, before we start to really realize, oh, this is the red flag. I have another video that was born out of that conversation that was really poignant as well, that the magical nuggets, quote unquote, are the red flags when things are actually going well. What I look for now, and the reason that I bring that up, and I'll maybe just touch on it a little bit here, is that as I am creating new friendships and new tribesmen have come near, meaning new people that are of my same ilk and vibration, I have let my angels do the narration. And what I mean by that is I don't force relationships. And if I get a red flag, or if I'm like, okay, I got to be careful with this, and every person that's new, I feel that with, including the person that I spoke to tonight, and she felt it with me too. We took our time. We took a lot of time to get to know each other before we took our friendship and our relationship from parasocial to actual. Over a year, okay? It wasn't like some quick thing that happened. And that's something that's very antithetical to most of the way that us empaths existed, because we're used to narcissist and love bombing, which happens immediately, and they're very persistent. And so both of us took our time, and even I made special notes in my mind like, okay, is this person safe for me? Angels, I'm going to allow you to vet this new somebody instead of me doing the vetting, because I clearly have had a pattern of behavior where I wasn't. So those magical nuggets are what I call mini trust falls that I build in relationships with new people, but also I allow the universe to do. And what that means is that someone that you're connecting with that's new empath may bring up something that's specifically poignant to you, or may they send you a message, a meme, a text, or they may say something under one of your videos, because that's where she and I communicated a lot in the beginning of our connection. Parasocial, albeit. And so I would wait until I felt actual confirmation from the universe, things that she could never know, things she wouldn't know, or things that someone else might not ever know, depending on what the friendship dynamic was and who the person was. And then it would open my heart a little bit, my heart would blossom, and I'd be like, oh, okay, this is safe because this is not some love bombing narcissist heading my way. This is divinely guided because only the universe would orchestrate this. In other connections that I have with my bestie and other people that I love, people you guys have heard me talk about, my Ethel, my bulldog, these people, I allowed the universe to connect us organically. I didn't impetuously behave and act on the fact that I like somebody, that I like the energy of them, the look of them, the feel of them. I actually waited till the universe started to talk to me. Magical nuggets is what we call them. And that was something that Emily and I discussed, and specifically that she coined the phrase of, I said magical nuggets myself too, and we both agreed on that. So it was mutually born together, I could say. But that's what it is, because magical is one of my favorite phrases for sure. And it's how I think of something that's pure, something that's organic, right? We laughed about it at the end. She was like, no Tyson nuggets for me. Yeah, we're looking for artisanal nuggets from Whole Foods, B. That's what we're seeking now. Meaning I want the universe to connect the dots and make the treasure hunt happen organically. I do not want to go look for reasons why a person's a good friend. You know, I had someone say something to me about a friend that they had vetted in their own way, and they said it's the best friend they ever had, and I beg to differ, and I don't think I was wrong, but they vetted them from their frame of reference and not from what the universe had for them all along. Does that make sense? Sometimes we'll want someone or something so bad that we will just go after it and decide this is the thing for us instead of really listening. because people can be filled with toxicity. And a lot of us come from backgrounds where people took advantage of us and weren't kind to us. So vet people and let the universe show you those magical nuggets. Now let's get back to this regarding the body slamming. When we are empaths, we will usually have things that happen over and over and over and over and over again before we really understand that person may not be our friend, may not be a good boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a boss, a partner, a business partner, you name it. And I took about 3 different relationships to finally understand the full total makeup, internal and exoskeleton of a narcissist. I can see them coming a mile away. And I can tell by the way I react to it. This is also to something that was discussed with Emily that I really thought was poignant. She talked and spoke very powerfully, very articulately about having almost a visceral reaction to someone that she was just platonically attracted to and what it felt like for her. And I thought, wow, that's something that needs to be taught about. The fact that we do sometimes get validation from even our platonic relationships in a way that could be even misconstrued as sexual if someone's validating something for you. But that usually comes from people that do love bombing kind of things. And that's why you pay attention to your patterning. If you feel like you've had that before, then what does that mean? If you're reacting to someone in a certain way, then that could be a red flag that you might be going back down a path that you thought you got away from and you thought you handled and you thought was over with. And that's the thing that I wanted you guys to really understand here is your patterning is what teaches you that you steer clear of the things that are actually unhealthy for you. It won't happen until you have a few. So for those of us that are like, how did I end up back in this relationship? How is this person my person again when I just thought I got over this? It happens because we usually don't recognize it and we don't realize from whom we are trying to heal. And usually that's from a parent that we are trying to heal. Some of the first narcissistic injuries we received. Narcissistic injuries what the narcissist receives, but it's an empath injury. We are created by narcissists and people that squelch down our ability to kind of like really and not every empath is created that way. Not every empath has an abuse origin story. Some people are just naturally sensitive, but a lot of us are created unfortunately in fire by people that did not ever fulfill our desires or did not care about our needs. And so we will have a couple of those people. They may be a best friend, they may be a girlfriend, a boyfriend, they may be a high school bully, but you will notice that you replicate that personality type in other people, and that's the body slam. And that hashtag was created by my friend Emily Body Slam because we get body slammed sometimes emotionally by people. If you read tarot, that would be the tower, which is scorpionic energy of death, transformation, and new beginnings. When the tower crumbles, it crumbles because it's being asked for you to look at it and see that you maybe built an unstructured edifice. You built something that wasn't going to ever really stand because it was built on sinking sand and wrong ideologies and people that really didn't care about your life or who you needed to be and who you wanted to be or who you were called to be. And so sometimes the universe will break that apart so that you can start over and build it better, build it with heart, build it with care, build it with internal structures, put the metal beams inside, reinforce it with concrete and wood, and make it something that's actually good. Brick by brick, you get to rebuild yourself. Those moments that come, we don't usually love them. We don't welcome them. We'd rather that they would stay away because it ruins every part of our day. It ruins our part of our life, and sometimes it can take years to get it right. But those patterns are such an integral part in teaching us what not to do. If you touch a stove repeatedly, you get burned repeatedly, then eventually, then you will realize that that's not something you will do repeatedly. You will stop. And unfortunately, that's how we learn. And a lot of us learn faster. Some of us learn quick. Sometimes we need 2 or 3. Sometimes it might be 1 or 2. But there will usually be a pattern for empaths. Pay attention what your patterns are for you. How many times have you had to learn a thing, no matter what the thing is, whether it's a health thing, a romantic thing, an energetic thing, a friend thing? What is the thing that you had to learn over and over so that you didn't continue to get burned? That is what I'm asked to submit to you tonight. It was just such a brilliant piece of information. And that's also why I suggest highly seeking out your tribe. And when I say seek it out, don't go out and search. Ask the universe to give you those magical nuggets and connect you so that you know for a fact that you are dealing with a new friend, a new boo, a new person, a new kind-hearted energy, someone that could edify you and you can edify thee. My favorite moments in life are when I have conversations with people that are alike energetically. And that doesn't mean that you stay in a vacuum. Sometimes you need a little bit of contrast in order to raise your vibration and look at something a different way. But that was a very powerful conversation with Emily, and I was happy to have had it because it identified for me what I have known and what I did. In order for me to get over the narcissist, I had to realize my pattern with narcissist. It wasn't just one. It wasn't the last one that you guys have heard me make a lot of videos about. It wasn't just one. There were many that were in my life and that I had to figure out. But now it'll never happen again, and I'm grateful. They say never. Is that what Justin Bieber said? But I can say never because I really understand the mechanisms of what attracted me. Emily brought up that really good point about her attraction in platonic connections to being validated by people that she knew were crazy, right? Or that she knew were not right, or that she felt the bristle of like, ooh, something is off here, right? The sociopathy air, that's what I call it when I feel it, an air of sociopathy. And why are you attracted to that? And why do you repeatedly go back to that? So now, and the thing about it is, for a lot of empaths, we have been taught, and people, we have this really weird idea about relationships being boring if they're not toxic. And now I seek out ones that are just lovely and easy and that titillate me but don't excite me to the degree that I am like obsessive and whatever, because that's where we get into those crazy toxic low vibrational endeavors, right? But I recognize my pattern of behavior. I also watch people that did not want to see their pattern of behavior, that they associate excitement, rejection, and pain, and emotional drain, and financial loss, and loss of respect with sexy, because we all have our toxic and ingrained patterns of behavior. I rejected that at a certain point in my life and I evolved. And then the universe brought me lovely neighbors, beautiful friends, new connections, parasocial and otherwise, where people are responsible for their own emotions and their life, and they manage themselves and they are careful and they articulate that they're timid a little bit and they are scared of entering into a new connection in a new year, but they're willing to try as long as there can be trust built. I love having that level of honesty of connection. And when I was in my narcissist connections, I never would, I never could, I never will. You never will have those kind of honest conversations because narcissists or toxic people, F boys, whomever you're dealing with, they exist in a pattern of behavior, and it's subterfuge, it's confusion, it's misinformation, it's lack of communication. They too exist in patterns. We are patterned people. Routines matter for a reason. Even if you don't have Virgo in your chart, routines are highly advisable for you because it's at the heart of keeping things moving in the right direction. You have to do a thing repeatedly in order to become great. Max Gladwell, I don't know if I'm saying his name right. It's like in my head, who wrote The Outliers. I reference it often, but he talks about the 10,000 hours that it takes to become a master in anything. And that means that you must develop a routine. Stephen Pressfield, who wrote The War of Art, a play on Sun Tzu's The Art of War, talks about how we creatives of any capacity can procrastinate and we don't even understand what for. And it's because in order to become, he says, out of the realm of an amateur into being a professional, you have to show up every day. You have to show up when you don't want to. You have to show up when you're sick. You have to sit down at your desk and write, and you just have to do it. He talks about the patterns and habits of Stephen King. Stephen King sits down in his writing room, and it's sparse and it's minimalist, and he writes. And that's how he became prolific. One page at a time, one day at a time, one cup of coffee at a time in Bangor, Maine. That's how Stephen King earned his name. And that's how you will do anything with pattern and pattern behavior. So pay attention to the patterns. If your pattern is to love a narcissist or to have that love bombing feel so delicious, then there is something, and you can acknowledge it. I'm not saying that it's not happening. I'm saying look at it in the face and say, okay, I like this, but what about this do I like? And how can I transmute this to something that's actually healthy and that feels right? Because you can. I will not have those kind of relationships again because I understand the pattern. I knew the pattern of rejection. I knew the pattern of deflection, of lack of communication. And it also is now so antithetical to my personhood. It's never a relationship that would feel good to me. I prize communication and I value people's honesty. We're all allowed to hide out a little bit, but because of the work I do, not everyone can hide out from me all the way. Usually, even if someone says something they didn't mean to say or they didn't say something they meant to say, I kind of know it. I will give them gratis and I will give them grace because you can't always be in everybody's headspace. I usually try to wait until I'm invited in. But if someone, look, let's talk about attraction. Let's say you're attracted to someone and they say that they are attracted to you or they aren't attracted attracted to you. I know whether that's true or not. Instinctively, I know whether it's true, but I don't push it because I understand the nature of our humanity is that we have our business. We don't always have to share everything with somebody. Empaths, we are privy usually to people's energy that way. So pay attention to the patterning of the things they do and do not say. You will learn in a positive way too. It doesn't always have to be the body slam in the next ways that you have to live or what you have to do, and then you can maneuver from there and pivot because everybody's not going to be ready when you are. That's something else I've learned in my journey so far. Sometimes you will have an epiphany of something and someone else may have the epiphany of it, but they may be scared of the ramifications, they may be scared of how it plays out, they may be scared of many things, and they may shut that out and deny their voice. That'll show up in their body and manifest in different ways. It can manifest in sickness, it can manifest in malaise, it can manifest in depression, but they will have to face it at some point, whether you're still there with them to help them face it or not, or whether you're still interested in helping them face it or not, or whether you're still interested, period, dots. Okay. So that's an interesting little tidbit too that must be out there for someone for you, because it's not anything that's relevant to my current situations, but it's something I've definitely trafficked in and been in. And that intuition, when someone looks at me and says one thing but they mean another, their heart feels another, they think another, but they're not saying the truth, I know it. And I let people, good and bad. I've had beautiful situations with people where they were lying right to my face, where I knew they felt something different, and I just let it be what it was because it was not my place to give them their epiphany. Pay attention to the patterning, even of the things that people will deny of themselves to thee, okay? Because people will have a pattern of behavior that they have to walk through. And that means that it might put on hold for you a new boo, a new connection, or a new friend. And that's when we refer back to those magical nuggets. Let the universe vet that person. If they're your person, or if they're your friend, or if that's the right job, or if that's the right college, or if that's even the right health regimen, you will be shown in a million different little ways without a lot of delays and without a lot of machination from the person itself or the opportunity itself that it's right for you. And they will get it too. Quick message for my twin flames. Oh, my loves, my heart breaks for you. Because that's a hard journey, and most of us don't get to the end of it with the person that we think we should. You can't wait there forever. That is not healthy and it's not good. If the person doesn't know that you're their twin flame, it's one thing if you had an actual 3D relationship with someone, a connection and conversations and whatever. For those of you that have any questions, I just cleared out in Venus retrograde the last little remnants of the past connection that I had that did not work out the way that I had wanted it to, and I was ultimately betrayed, but it needed to happen. It was beautiful. It was a cancer that needed to get cut out. But I read notes that she actually read me because she knew too, higher self and 3D self, what the truth was of our connection. And I read the last notes that my angels had kind of hidden away from me. And so there's a video up here. I think it's called "Spewing the Last of the South Out of My Mouth," reading letters from our ex. And I said our ex because I think that some of the messages in there are messages maybe you got too from exes that didn't give you proper closure or do the things that they needed to do in the closeout of the relationship. Now, what I will say about that is, that's one thing to know. We both knew clearly because she wrote in her own handwriting the evidence of what she knew that we could be and what we were. Some of you guys have saw somebody in the mall, and I heard a reader giving an example of this, and I thought it was brilliant. And they move their hair to the left. You're like, that's my person, and then you obsess over them for 7 years. That's crazy. I'm just gonna tell you, I don't care if you're offended. That's crazy. You have to have had a tangible relationship with someone to be like, that's my baby, that's my boo, that's my twinsy, right? You have to know. You had to have had those conversations. And in her own handwriting, and I read them last night, she admitted that she knew exactly what we were, and we no matter how much she wanted to deny me how embarrassed she was, it's in her handwriting. It's immortalized for the rest of life. Here's the thing I will say about that. Even though she knew who we were, she still allowed it to get off track, and she still denied it, and she still had her fears. Could I stop her from that? I could not, because I had my other years to live, and I had my other new connections, and God gave me new energies and new people that were lovely, new friends, parasocial or otherwise, that were in my life, that were my tribe, and it worked out fine. Guys, things work out fine if you leave it in the hands of the divine. Instead of me trying to make her and contort her and force her into loving me the way that I deserved, I realized she could never give me what I was worth. And that I was maybe just an earth angel in her life to teach her how to love somebody that she would actually love someday, right? And I don't regret it. A lot of us have resentment. I had bitterness and I had anger and I had a lot of things, but I don't regret it. I have totally let that go regarding like it didn't work out the way. I don't want her. I don't want anything to do with her. Not in a bad way. I get it. When you learn the lesson, that's the other thing about patterns and repeated behavior and being body slammed. Once you get the mastery of the body slam that happened to you repeatedly, you don't want to go back. And not because you're scared anymore or terrified or they're a terrible person or horrendous. Good word, Emily. But it's because there's nothing else to extract from thee. There's nothing that she could teach me. She is of no value to me. And I'm not saying that to demean her. I'm saying it. I sucked the bone from the marrow, or the marrow from the bone, excuse me. I sucked the marrow from the bone. I got all of the nutrients out of that relationship. I didn't have to stay to figure out if she got the nutrients out of it, and I don't care. I think a lot of us spend a lot of time caring, and that's where we get stuck. We overstay our welcome in the patterning and get stuck in the muck, and we're there and we're there and we're there and we're there, and we stick and we stay. And the other person has long time gone away. I spent the last 2 years doing what is healthy, which is cleaning out that mess, so that I could really move on and be the best I could in the next relationship. Instead of jumping immediately into the next relationship and being fully enmeshed with somebody, I now am ready to actually give my heart to new people in the tribe and new connections that are going to be nurtured that I will keep alive. But I wasn't ready fully until I was. But it's because I had to show myself some love, and sometimes that means really addressing the past. And I did it until you're tired of talking about it. That's when it's over. Anybody that could have clicked on here and be like, "Oh my gosh, she's so tired," and you guys were exhausted. When you get repeated patterns of things and you get body slammed over and over, you do have to stay for a minute and reassess that. And I did, and I regret nothing about it. But here's what I learned: there was a pattern of behavior that that person demonstrated with me, and she demonstrated with me what it could and couldn't be. She also told me what it was in her heart on the higher end. So all of the pieces you put together, you blend it up, and then you extract what you can out of it, and then you move on. And with good identification of patterns, good or bad, you don't have to linger. You don't have to have jet lag in a relationship. You can just say, "Oh, this is never going to be it because this reminds me of something else that was never it too." And then you move on to the next new boo, and that's it. If someone triggers you, that's another thing. Pay attention to that. Sometimes when we come out, we have PTSD out of those toxic relationships, right? And someone will try to love us. And you know what I say? Cue Sarah McLachlan in The Arms of the Angel. Someone will try to love us and we'll be like, "Oh my God, you're really familiar." But I want you to pay attention. Are they actually familiar? Are they like your other or others? There might be a red flag in there for you and not a magical nugget. Pay attention to that. And no one can tell you but you. If someone is exhibiting similar behaviors that someone else did to you, then they're not serious about you. If we're talking romantically, they like your attention, but they're not really trying to be your somebody. They like that you like them. Maybe there's an infatuation with that. Empath, excuse me, we're really good at it being infatuated and being like stage 5 for people. And they're just extracting all of our beautiful empath energy. And they're like, "Look at this person. She's so crazy for me." But they're not crazy for you. And they're not willing to give you the fullness of what the experience is that you need. And that doesn't mean that they're bad. But if there's a pattern, then yes, indeed, you need to move on. Okay? And you move on because, listen, here's what I want you to understand. This life is to have your relationship needs met. There are people that you will properly vet that one day will give you exactly what you want. But not if you stay hanging on and not paying attention to the patterns. Does that make sense? As soon as I released what I thought I wanted, I got what I wanted. And if that connection turned out to be something that I didn't want and couldn't fulfill me completely, I now have created new space for other relationships to come in and fulfill me completely in the capacity that maybe two more other connections couldn't, or that other person couldn't, or the next person couldn't, or whatever. Because there's something I'm seeking. We're all seeking something, right? And as my sister wisely says, what you want is wanting you. So don't get stuck. Even if it's a magical new boo that the universe did vet and the magical nuggets feel right, if you're not getting the fullness of the experience that you want to extract, then understand that it's your life and you deserve to have exactly your life and your needs and desires met. But patterns, pay attention to them because they help you to properly vet people. And when you properly vet, you don't get into big messes. You have long-term relationships, you have good connections, you have lifetime connections with people that actually are your equal, that edify you. You get off the phone with them, you feel good, you don't feel drained. You feel like, this person's not insane. It's a lovely feeling. I welcome in tribesmen, friends, parasocial and otherwise, that are of my equal vibration. But I know now that if they're not, I pay attention to the patterning. If they seem familiar and it's toxic, then I toss it and I start again. You do not owe yourself and you're not obligated to be a narcissist friend. All right, guys. So good to share some energy with you. Come back and join me next time, and we will continue to evolve together.